Check 1 2, check 1 2.
Test mic 1. Test mic 3. Test mic 5. Test mic 7. Test mic 9. Test mic 10. Test 11. Test 11.
Check mobile. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Start at the top of the agenda, the approval of meeting minutes. Can I have a motion and a second to bring those up?
So moved.
Second.
Does anyone have any discussion or any corrections or? So consent agenda, we can just consent agenda to approve the minutes. All right, number 3, presentation. I'm excited for this one. Harlan Rowe Middle School, the Athens Apiary are going to do a presentation this evening. I'm really excited. So you're going to have to turn the mic on so people can hear you.
Got it. Hi, I'm Colleen, the health and phys ed teacher at Harlan Rowe. Several years ago, I was lucky enough to get a grant to have the outdoor education curriculum for us, and part of that, one of the units is conservation. And from that, it just snowballed into different ways we can teach our kids about conservation, preservation. And with my great friends and colleagues, we just talked about different ways to have it be cross-curricular. And 2 years ago, I wrote a grant, well, John Toscano approved it, but now Mary Ellen, to get an apiary started. And I really want to thank Tim Wilcox and Amanda Rupert, our high school nurse. Their knowledge and expertise really helped this happen, get off the ground. I was very naive in how much work goes into an apiary. Thought you put some hives together, throw some bees in it, and you collect honey in the fall. I was wrong. Once a week, all summer long, Amanda met me. We went into the hives. Every time, she's like, "Can't you see the queen? She's right there." And I'm like, it's like the other 10,000 bees that I'm looking at. So she's been awesome. Tim Wilcox and Jeff Schrader and I met to plan out, I don't know if you want to start that, Clint. There's some pictures about what it looked like when we started. And from there, we got all the bees. We were there in the summer every week, kind of checking on them. We had one hive split, swarm and split, but we survived that. And I'm going to let my colleagues and the students talk about the harvesting of the honey. That was more, we started with the outdoor education elective, but the farm to table elective did more of the harvesting and enjoying of the honey. So I'll let them take it over.
I'm Christine Davis. I'm the FACS teacher at Rowe, and Emily and I too received a grant to start a farm-to-table class. I went to her a few years ago and said, "What do you think between ag and FACS? What can we do?" And we came up with the farm-to-table through the grant that we had written for that. And then with Colleen, we were able to just make it one enormous project. So we harvested the honey this fall, and how we did it, we brought the frames in, and the students had to learn how to scrape it all out, and then we had spinners, and we bottled it, which you will all be getting a sample of this evening, and it's just been an enormous project, and the students they're thrilled with it. It is a 2 marking period class, the farm to table, so they will get to see everything from soil health through harvesting. So we have them again in the spring semester, and they will learn about the soil, will start seeds, hopefully have a plant sale, and then just grow this program.
Awesome. I'm Emily Bidlack, and I am the Ag and FFA teacher at Harlan Row Middle School. And like my colleagues have already said, this has been an awesome, great project that we have been working on together, and the students received it really well. The students who took our class this past marking period, because they're only marking period classes, were all previous Ag students and FACS students. So that really helped us out in this class project because all of our students knew our expectations and they could jump right into the projects and complete them well, and it was a fabulous experience for all of us. We were so grateful that we got to use the honey, and we got to use it in several recipes. We got to use it in our harvest feast. We used it in my ag classes that weren't part of the farm to table class. During our dairy unit, we made Texas Roadhouse butter during our dairy products section. So we've got to use it quite a bit. And just the farm to table class in general was a huge hit. The public received it really well on our social media platforms, and I think the students really enjoyed it as well. So with that, we have 2 of our students that were in our class during the farm to table class, and they're going to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about some of the projects that we did that we really enjoyed. And up there we do have some pictures at the end of our class. If you didn't know, we had a culminating activity where we had a harvest meal. So we have 25 students that were in the class, and they decorated our outdoor pavilion for a harvest feast, and they set the table properly, they created a menu, and they made everything themselves homemade from local products. So it was excellent. Even the main course chicken, we raised them ourselves at school, if you didn't get to see that. And we actually got to raise them in a display case in the hallway, so the entire school could watch them grow from when we ordered them to when we sent them to the butcher. And that was awesome. So I will let my students and our students introduce themselves and talk a little bit about it.
Hi, I'm Riley Warden. I am the president of the FFA chapter at the middle school. I can confirm that sorry about that. I can confirm what Ms. Bidlack said, that it was very, very fun. I think that the harvesting of the honey was pretty hard, and I didn't really realize how hard it was until we actually had to do it. But after that, we got to enjoy the honey, and it tastes really good. But the harvest meal that we did have, we had so much stuff in it. I was like stuffed afterwards. I got to make the apple crisp, and it was really good. I don't know what else to say, but all right.
My name is Darren May. I am a sentinel at our middle school FFA chapter, and Farm to Table was an amazing class. We had a bunch of experiences, new experiences, and life experiences I'll be using when we are older. I wasn't really part of the making of the feast, but I did help decorate the outside. FFA has been a great run for me. It's just been very enjoyable learning about like life lessons and other great stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, we were.
We have samples of our honey.
And while they're passing those out, if you have any questions, let us know.
I'd also like to thank Jeremiah Bailey. He made the design for our logo. So
Thank you.
I need to thank him too. Thank you, Jeremiah, if you're watching, because he did great.
Thank you so much.
Math teacher now, but he wasn't an art teacher, so he was one of us at once. He was an elective teacher.
Do you have adult classes too?
We've had a few people
I would
actually
love-
ask
I
us
would
that.
love-
That would be fabulous.
What's that? What do you ask?
Said if you have adult classes, I would love to. I don't. Chuck probably wouldn't let me have an apiary down in Athens Borough, but I'd
What's
love
that?
to.
He asked how many colonies of bees that we have.
Currently, we have 2. We have room for 2 more hives, which Amanda is encouraging, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And these kids can attest, it took a lot to get, we had 30 frames of honey, which was about 6 gallons, and it was a lot of work. So maybe in the future, or there is room. I talked to Dave at the high school. If any FFA student wanted to do a project, we'd have room to have their hive in with ours, but currently 2 hives.
Yep. And it took just over a week for the students to take it from frame and bottle it.
So enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
So, just a quick word, Mrs. Davis, Mrs. Bidlack, and Mrs. Sullivan. This is a really unique opportunity. You don't see this every day, but you do see this happening more and more often. These three teachers worked together to create this amazing experience. It starts with an idea. It comes to fruition in a fall harvest dinner, but it's something that involved so many kids. The outstanding pride that those kids had in themselves on the day of the fall harvest dinner tells the entire story. They were so proud. They would point out to me who made what, how things got made. I knew all about the chickens before Mrs. Bidlack told me about the chickens. I knew all about the honey before I could ask a single question. It's incredible to see how the hands-on learning makes a huge impact. And when Mrs. Sullivan said, hey, can we put bees on the property? And I was like, let's think about that. Let's move it a little farther away from the building, because I think our original idea was to put it in one of the squares inside, and like we got a nice little space for it now. And to their testament, they're thinking about the future. So we're already talking about wildflowers and
Planting that
lavender.
area instead of with grass, and maybe not spraying, Jeff. Not spraying pesticides. We'll see.
We'll see. We're going to have a wildflower field before we know it. I just have a feeling with what these amazing people can do. So thank you so much. And thank you to the students.
I think
And we learned so much on, yes, like you can tell what flowers they visited based on the color of pollen that they're carrying on themselves. We've learned so much ourselves in just a short period of time. And the kids are very receptive to that. Like we tell them, we're learning right along with them. And they're just, like we're all along for the ride together. And it's been great.
I think seeing the excitement on the two kids that were here tonight, if that's what they all are, that's great to see. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions on that presentation? Thank you guys so much. The next presentation will be the Athens Area High School Student Council.
Good evening. I'm Ethan Hicks, Student Council President.
And I'm Sarah Bronson, the Student Council Secretary. Student Council has been extremely busy this year, starting off with the homecoming festivities in September and then Rusty Rail Rush in October. And during the month of November, Student Council has decided to spread gratitude, thankfulness, and cheer throughout the high school. We all have so much to be thankful for, both in and out of school. Each day of the month of November, Student Council has something fun planned to show our appreciation to the faculty, staff, administration, and students.
Here's what last week looked like. On Monday, November 4th, Student Council hid pumpkins around the school. The teacher, lucky enough to find a pumpkin, received a small prize, such as a movie theater-sized box of candy. On Tuesday, November 5th, it was one of 2 National Donut Days. Student Council provided donuts to all faculty, staff, and administration. On Wednesday, November 6th, it was a National Nacho Day. Student Council made 20 pounds of ground beef and set up a taco bar in the faculty room for all faculty, staff, and administration to enjoy. Thursday, November 7th was a fun day. The teachers were supposed to put their drink into anything except a cup. Some teachers were drinking their drinks out of vases, gravy boats, and cooking pots, just to name a few. Yeah.
The calendar, which we passed out to all of you, has listed what Student Council has planned out for the remaining days or rest of the month. On Thursday this week, Student Council is providing all teachers, staff, and administration with a little treat to show our gratitude and appreciation. We would like to also express our gratitude and appreciation to all school board members and administration. We have attached the following message on a treat: the difference between being ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. So on behalf of all Student Council members, thank you for all the extra things you do. We greatly appreciate it. We hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. Now we got the hardest part.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for coming out this evening,
No problem.
keeping us up to date on what's going on at the high school. I think this is one of the better parts of being on the board, having the kids come and show us what they're doing and the excitement that they have.
Which is why, like you said, it stopped at the schools. There's so much. I stopped the day of the harvest fest, and they were just getting ready to light the bonfire, and they were just really excited.
I'm just waiting. I'm ready to go. I'm the next presenter.
Okay. Next presentation is athletic state qualifiers. Dr. Stage?
Yes. So we were very fortunate this year. We had several students participate in the state championships for both golf and cross country. So let's start with golf, and I want to invite Eli Hicks and Coach P up. Listen, I could say it anyway, but it would always be wrong. So we have Eli here. Coach, if you want to say some things, you can say it at the microphone, but I just want to introduce Eli. Eli, you are a sophomore. He finished second at districts this year, which qualified him for the state championship. The state championships this year were at the blue course, the white course at Penn State. He did very well both days. He finished in the top two-thirds, would we say? Top two-thirds. And he's got a lot of promise for next year. A great team, and we're going to have the rest of the team back in December to recognize them for some of they won a district title. So we're going to bring them back in December, if you're still around. Okay, good. And thank you very much, Eli. You make us all very proud.
Congratulations. Dr. Stage, I don't think they just did well. They were undefeated.
I'm undershooting it, but I want to talk more about that in December.
Fourth year of being undefeated.
Fourth year undefeated in the league.
I do have a few things to say the next time we bring the whole team. But
Okay.
Coach Bianca has got himself a record streak going.
Okay.
Coach, what's the total matches? It was 92 last my count, but it'll been 120 something, you know?
I believe we're 23.
123, you know?
League matches.
It's over 120 and
Yeah.
We've been undefeated for the last 3 years.
There you go.
Four
We're going to get that.
NTL titles. Finally got that elusive district title.
Yep.
Wet day, too.
Pardon me?
It was a wet day.
It was very good. I don't know how anybody held on to a golf club in that rain. They played extraordinarily well that day down in Williamsport. There was some great talent. There's some great players who play all the time. We've had some great past talent. Cindy's son. Those kids will be out there with their snowboards coming down and playing golf.
For sure.
So it's a pleasure to work with them. And, you know, I often said the Yankees didn't win 25 pennants without good talent, so we've got a lot of talent. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Yep. And like I said, we'll bring the district qualifying teams back in December because I felt like we should really make the state qualifiers special today. So we had 2 runners make the state championship for cross country. We had Sarah Bronson, who's here, and we have Graham Wink, who's also here. So if Sarah and Graham can come up, coaches can come with them, or dad, or dads, both of them, because I'll get their grades mixed up immediately. Sarah is a sophomore. No, she's a senior. She knows it. I know it. Sarah is actually going to have a signing day tomorrow, correct? Can we share? Sure. Yeah, so Sarah will be signing her national letter of intent with Bucknell University tomorrow in the afternoon, so we'll have some media there. Graham is a sophomore. They both ran really, really well at districts, finishing in the top 5 each, correct? And that day, the neat thing about cross country, or the challenging thing, is you only get one shot at it. So you got to wake up and go hard, and they did very, very well. I think you finished at states?
Or 51st.
51st at states, but how many runners? 300. So that's top half for sure. And Graham, where did you finish for states? High. Too high. So this is Graham. Like, he's like, I did not finish where I wanted to be, and I will work harder. I know that for sure. You have goals now. Thank you. And so, super proud. Running cross country is always a challenge, right? Different courses, different times, different events, weather, and it's a little more challenging than people understand. And I learned a lot about that this year. So, a big congratulations to both Graham and Sarah. You make us all Wildcat proud. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'll see you guys next month too. Thank you. Thank you, Coach. Thanks. And thank you, Dad. And Mom. There you go. Our state qualifiers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, committee reports. First one, finance and operations.
I'll do that. Finance and operations, we had some things to go over with Mr. Schrader. They did have a domestic hot water heater that has decided to take a drop in its life. The good thing about it is, I will take the good out of the bad, that this has gone 21 years, which is exceptional from what I understand for hot water heater. And I just put that hats off to the facilities, Jeff and his crew, to keep that going for so long. They're in a process right now of making sure that they get the right pricing for that to replace the system and be as high efficiency as it can be. We also were told about the stadium being winterized. The bathrooms are all being taken care of for this winter coming up. And they also talked about rock salt, make sure that all the ground's ready to go for this winter coming up. So they are ready to go, and hopefully we'll be moving forward. And that does complete my report.
What are we doing in the meantime with the hot water heater? Is there like a Band-Aid fix or?
Yes, Mrs. Matt. What we did is I had a contractor come in that's authorized repair for that main water heater, and we have a Band-Aid like we said on it. It is holding right now, but like Mr. Johnson said, that we're going to solicit some our Polestar's price to replace it. And December, I'll bring it back to the committee for that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for finance and operations? Personnel and policy.
So the Personnel and Policy Committee met tonight. We reviewed a number of existing policies as first reads, 601 through 609. These are all related to fiscal policies in the district. We'd like to recommend all of these move forward apart from one, which we discovered that we want to make a little update to the language around the amount of time. It's actually policy 604, around budget adoption, and it's just around the timelines that we need to have the budget, the preliminary budget available for the public. So we just want to make sure that we have all the language in there correct and aligned with the state. So that's the only policy that we'd like to just hold back tonight. The rest can all move forward as usual. And the other policies, there's a few other second read policies. We have no problems with those moving forward for a vote this evening. Did I get everything, Tim?
We're also going to move the Title IX forward as well.
The Title IX. Yeah, sorry, isn't that on here?
Yeah, and just for full clarification, the budget is correct and done correctly. There was just a couple questions we had with which one we are using, so just clarifying the procedure is all.
All right, thank you. Next would be curriculum instruction and technology.
Okay, I'll be reporting out. We discussed the winter keystones that are coming up on December 5th, December 10th, and December 12th. We also discussed the science of math, which is integrating number sense routines into grades K through 5. Some upcoming PD for the math collaborative, trauma PD, some into math, and some continued support with CKLA and working on adjusting to the new curriculum that they have coming up. And Firefly, which is a benchmark assessment through PA, Department of Education, and it's a predictor of the PSSA and Keystone successes that they have. And that's all I had to report.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Moving on to extracurricular activities.
So we met on Thursday, so we reviewed fall coaches, evaluations, discussed the fall seasons overall. You know, everything went fairly well. We did have a fall cleanup day where all the coaches from fall, winter, and spring sports were invited to help organize and get rid of any old, broken, stained, all those, you know, decades-old pieces of equipment and stuff like that. I was very, very pleased. We had almost 100% participation from every team and club that was invited, and the place looks a lot better, and we have a better idea of what we need, and we also found some things that were missing and some things that we found that we can repurpose. So it was a very, very, very good day. We took a look at one of the goals that, you know, I was given this year, which kind of goes along with what I'm working on in the athletic director role, is about our clubs and activities. And so in a quick audit, we found some groups that were not, are functioning and were not necessarily approved by the board. And so the committee recommended, and you'll see the memo, that we move forward and create these clubs because they are very popular with students. The students like them and enjoy them. And there was also a recommendation in there to add a club, the drone club, in there as well. I do want to make one note. You won't see on the memo an Avitum. That was board approved. I just could not find it, and actually Jenny helped me find it. So that was board approved. So we took that off. You'll in the memo you'll see that. So the other conversations were about you know, the large numbers that we have for junior high right now. We have large numbers in soccer. We have large numbers in volleyball. We have large numbers in both boys and girls basketball. It's more boys than girls. So the conversation is about, they want me to collect some data and come back and see if it's, you know, wise for us to add a second coach stipend for those very, very large teams. So I'll have some information at the next extracurricular meeting to share out. Along with that, we had a discussion on, we had some requests on coaching stipends, so I'm going to gather some information about that as well. And finally, just kind of aligning our goals for clubs, just trying to stay consistent. We found some discrepancies, felt like the whole board needs to be part of that conversation. Had a conversation with Mr. Owen, and he'll be coordinating a time to get us all together in the near future. So I think I covered everything. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. That concludes the.
I have a question, Craig. So when you're discussing those additional coaches for the junior high sports,
yes, sir.
If there's co-ops with that, would that be discussed with SARE then to help compensate for that? Because if the reason for that might be the numbers?
Yeah, I think that might be a good thing to consider. We didn't consider it in that conversation, John. So, but when we do submit a bill to them, it's usually an aggregate of per student cost. So if we have to have the addition of an additional coach, like for boys or junior high soccer, which we run 2 full teams, actually 4 teams when you consider team A and B for each one, that cost has to be shared.
Okay.
I agree. Thank you for that.
Can I just ask a quick question? So
yes, ma'am.
All these additional clubs that we've got in the memo,
Mhm.
are there others out with this list that aren't included? I'm thinking like ski club or.
Yep, we had that. So ski club is more of it has been like outside the periphery of the Athens area school district for decades because it's been more of a valley ski club that incorporates more than just the Athens students, from what I understand. One of the first things I did, they were always required to pick students up at the roller skating rink. What's it called?
Keystone.
Keystone. For years and years and years, they weren't even allowed to pick up here, and it was a request I think I got in 2014 or 2015 to pick up. We do have some parents that do that, If they want to come and talk to us about adding ski club, I think it's a conversation we can have.
I'm pretty sure it's only Athens at this point.
Oh, okay.
But, you know.
Yeah, it was.
I'm just
It
curious.
originated
like,
with
what
a larger group, but
That
if,
makes
if
sense.
it's something that we want to consider, I think that the committee could absolutely consider that.
And
as
were
well.
there other clubs? I'm naming.
Yeah, Drone Club was one that came up. The tabletop club is pretty popular, and Mr. Gabriel did survey the majority of our high school students. Not a lot different than what we already have in terms of clubs. We got some dialogue on some of our favorites. So we'll use that information wisely and appropriately, but nothing in concerning of adding a club.
Is there a protocol for that, Greg, if they want to add a club? And
Yeah, so policy 122 does kind of outline the protocol for that, and it means go to the principal, have a proposal, and then move it up the chain. And ultimately, it ends with the board decision to approve the club. Our discussion was these other clubs have already done through that process, but not been board approved, so we should formally recognize them. But yes, there is a process, and I do have a memo to the administrators that will go out tonight or tomorrow, kind of outlining that process.
There's just two things I want to mention from the extracurricular activity meeting. Some of the numbers, when we talk about adding coaches, so junior high volleyball, 35 players with one coach. Junior high soccer, 37. Boys basketball, 35. Girls basketball, 20. So using the junior high, like I think our theory is that junior high is like a fundamental building, program development, building skills. So if you have 35, 37, 35, and 20 students, if you want to build their skills, you can't do it with one coach.
Unless you have like just one drill at a time.
Right. So that was, the numbers of the junior high teams are high, and that was where we came up with, more coaching positions.
Has that been a trend? Like, are we seeing more and more every year, or is that just a blip right now with the current eighth grade class?
We've had high numbers for the last 3 or 4 years when it comes to junior high sports.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that is a result of the youth programs building up.
Yeah, the feeder programs are doing well, and when the kids get to junior high. So we'd like to keep those numbers up, keep the kids interested in, by doing that, so we can increase our
I just wasn't sure,
varsity
'cause I know we have
teams.
a very large eighth grade class, so I didn't know
Yeah.
if it was just a simple.
No, it's kind of, I think it's kind of across the board. I will give, just for an example, people like, Alan Burgess, who's working with ASA, and Kevin Doherty, who's done the AWYBA, which is youth basketball. They have really, really, really strong numbers. I think Kevin shared with me that there's like 160 kids playing basketball. I know that they're using our facilities a lot.
Just one more thing. Did you want to mention the girls?
Oh yeah, so thank you. I knew there was something I missed. The flag football for girls is an emerging sport by PIAA. Just trying to gauge interest locally. I don't see, maybe one other school locally wants to do it. I did gauge interest in the District 4, and we're working on that. I don't think we're going to have a lot of people interested in that, although we are kind of interested in that. So I do have a lot of interest from girls and even people who are willing to coach a flag football team in the spring. So it's something that we're going to have to move on probably in December or January, so that if we want to do it, we can. I have to look into seeing if there's a way that we can participate against schools in New York, because I think flag football is a spring sport for them as well.
And it would be under consideration.
Yeah, it'd be an emerging sport, which means it's under the PIAA umbrella, but it's not sanctioned.
Right.
Therefore, we don't need co-ops. So if we wanted to do this and we wanted to open it up and other bordering schools wanted to join us, like in a co-op, we wouldn't have any official sanctions for that, to do that. Now, if it became official, then we would need co-ops and things like that.
Is it official in New York?
Yes. Yeah. I think they started last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
So if you can bring a cost.
Yeah, I have to do that. Like, I was
Cost
first trying to
analysis.
Gauge interest, and it doesn't seem like it's an overwhelming interest right now in our region. However, I do know that there is a big push in the central and urban areas, mainly because Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers have committed millions of dollars to flag football in there.
So you're looking for an interest right now, or
No, I want to have,
gauging interest?
I'm gauging interest, and I'll have more definitive information for you guys. Yeah, it was more of like, let me do some fact checking.
On the same type of theme, are we exploring boys volleyball in more depth? I know that we've got like sort of a fledgling team at the junior high, but is that something that we are looking at more?
It would absolutely be of interest. Here's the problem, and that I've been looking into. There's nobody within 2 hours of us that plays boys volleyball. And boys volleyball is a spring sport, as I know it, and that's the challenge. We could absolutely have a team, but who would we play? And that's our challenge right now. So if we can get more schools interested, then absolutely it would be something that we could do, because technically our gyms are pretty free in the springtime, so we could make that space happen. I do know that there's a club, right, and that's starting to grow.
Mr. Stage, what about, I'm just curious as we go down this rabbit hole, what are the interests in lacrosse?
I think there is some interest, but we're going to be facing the same challenges.
Okay.
So being in Bradford County, and you look at the NTL, you're looking at Bradford, Sullivan, Tioga County as a base. And if you don't have any teams to play, then you have to look outside that. Then there's a cost, right? You got to travel to Lycoming County to play lacrosse right now, and I only think there's 3 teams that play lacrosse in Lycoming County. So then you have to go farther out. It's a risk versus rewards. I wouldn't mind taking the risk, but the reward is we're going to get a few games, and it's going to cost us a lot of money.
In that swath of lacrosse, boys volleyball, and field hockey, for whatever reason, it's just not.
I know we're just so close to New York, which there's a lot of schools in New York that's one of their main sports. So, I mean, we're right on the border.
And while we absolutely can play schools in New York, we can't exclusively play New York schools, or we would never qualify for anything, and we would have a hard time even getting our PIAA sanction. Because you have to have a schedule.
Are we going to advertise that?
Yeah, it's already.
Okay. So then the last thing was just that the the boys varsity soccer coach, Mr. Lezak, is retiring from coaching, and we did open up that position, and that was advertised.
Right, and that'll be open until December 2nd or 3rd. I can't remember the exact date. We're also going to have something for Mr. Lezak.
Okay. Well, now I'll move on to superintendent's items and reports. Mr. Stage, or Dr. Stage?
I can't even remember now. So to keep it brief, there's only one thing I want to mention. I'm incredibly grateful. Today's November 12th. Yesterday was Veterans Day for those of you that pay attention to calendars. I am incredibly grateful for those who serve. We have a lot of people who work for us, around us, and with us who are veterans. I thank them personally. Yesterday absolutely was a beautiful day in our district. We were able to celebrate veterans, teach Veterans Day, and it was a very, very productive day. And I really loved what was happening throughout the district, from hearing from the principals, and especially what's happening at the high school with bringing in our veterans, treating them to breakfast, and then allowing some to speak on very important topics. So it was a very valuable learning day. We celebrate our veterans every year. We just were able to do it on Veterans Day this year. So it was very special. So I wanted to say thank you to all those veterans. And that concludes my report for now.
Thank you. Next will be NTCC, Mrs. Cooper.
We have a meeting next Thursday, so I have nothing new from this month, but it is their annual holiday dinner at 6 o'clock before the meeting, and I am asked to bring a guest if anyone wants to. So before every career center, the food preparation has dinner for us, and this next Thursday is their holiday dinner. So the kids are preparing a holiday dinner. So if any board members would like to come, just let me know. I need to let Guyla know. It's next Thursday at 6. And you can or opt not to stay for the meeting after. But you're invited for the dinner if you'd like to come.
Just as a hot tip, if there's a dinner to go to, that is the one.
The kids do an amazing job if you've never partaken in anything that they've done down there. Also, you can get nails done, hair done, cheap. There's so many things at the Career Center, so maybe it's me now. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gabriel, did you and Mr. McNeil go down to the Career Center to get haircuts?
Mr. McNeil was supposed to go down and get his haircut, but we ran into some problems, I think.
Oh, God. Okay, I know that there's a plan. And Mr. Gabriel was not cutting his hair until he could get down there to get it cut. There was time.
We were trying.
This Mr. Gabriel was going to get his haircut?
No, Mr. McNeil.
I was gonna make
He was going to get his nails done.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Mr.
I'm like,
McNeil was getting his haircut.
Okay.
I got my. They look so much alike some days.
okay. Okay, moving on, the PSBA, just a quick report, a couple of things to go with what Mr. Sherznowski reported. Beginning 2025-2026 school year, all your PSSAs and your Keystones will be online. Is Quest Tech, are we ready for that? I mean, no, we already do it, right?
Right.
We've been doing it, I think.
Correct, and we are going to be ready for winter. We sat down and had a planning meeting. We're going to have basically like a test run day here. What's that?
We started with some test runs. We've had 2 sessions come through. There was an issue with this CD.
Yeah, please.
There was an issue actually with the platform, the DRC platform or the post assessments. So we had to bump our trial, but we were able to get together the 19 kids who fall down during the wind period. They were able to have their computers tested. They had the programs uploaded. So we're not only just ready for the Keystone, we're ready for the firefly benchmark that Mr. Sherznowski mentioned and continue through our other benchmarks that we run throughout the year. So they are working diligently with us. Dr. Sage and I had a meeting with Quest Tech last week. We kind of went over everything and
Okay.
moves have been made since then too.
All right. Another thing from the PSBA for board members, there will be the 2025 virtual board training is being offered online January 11th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. if you're interested. And one of the things that I saw, the PSBA Student Leader Scholarships are now available, and these are open to anyone in our district because we participate in PSBA. They're open now and they're due March 14th. There's 4 different opportunities that our seniors can apply for. It looks like a bachelor's in education, a bachelor's in criminology, forensics, or law enforcement, and a bachelor's in arts. There's also one, if we can ever get a student representative as our local liaison between the board and the high school. They also have a scholarship for that particular position as well. Yep. Just wanted to pass that on. The scholarships are available at psbatrust.org. And that is it for the PSBA report. Solicitor's report, Mr. Barrett.
Yes, the assessment appeals were due to the county by August 30th, and the county had to hear them by the end of October, and they did. We had 3. We had 2 residentials. One was withdrawn, one was denied, and we had 1 commercial, which was Lowe's, which was also denied, and I expect him to appeal. We are consulting now to get an expert to appraiser to look Lowe's over because their appraisal was ridiculously low, which would just about cut our taxes in half, which is pretty ludicrous, we felt. Secondly, one of the residential appraisal emphasized his neighbor's house because his taxes were higher than his neighbor's, and we felt he was right but drew the wrong conclusion that not only was his it wasn't that his taxes were too high, it was his neighbors were too low, and we are looking into probably taking an appeal on our side next year to raise the neighbor's taxes. So that's what we're looking at. So that's we have the right.
Make for a good neighbor.
We have the right to do that under the statute, and I have got that, so before I do anything, I will make sure I get your authority, but that concludes my report, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Okay, visitors' comment. Any visitors like to comment on board action items only? Okay. Not seeing any. We'll move on to Section 8, Financial Business. Can I have a motion and a second to bring financial business to the table?
So, second.
All right, so if you look, we have the listing of bills, general fund checks, cafeteria bills, Berkheimer earned income tax report for October of '24, Secretary Treasurer's report for September of '24, and the Athens Area High School's activity report. Any questions or comments on any of these items? I just want to point out that the charter school year-to-date, $541,366.92. If there's no comments or questions, we will vote on 8A through F. Christine?
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. Terasnowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
And Mrs. Minnick?
Yes. Okay, moving on, number 9, personnel items. Dr. Stage, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I don't at this time.
Oh, let me make a motion, let me have a motion and a second to bring it to the table.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now we'll discuss the Athens Area School District additional clubs and advisor memo and the personnel listing. So I think, Dr. Sage, you'd already described the memo and the clubs and everything in your other report.
Correct. I did try to outline that, and, you know, as we move forward, the adding of clubs will come to you guys in a more succinct fashion. And the personnel listing, just a note, we have some people moving into some longer-term temporary positions that we need to recognize tonight. You'll see those. They're filling a variety of leaves that we have to have filled. And then supplemental contracts are pretty straightforward. They reflect some of the club positions that we are adding tonight. And the athletic contracts are all out there. I do have one that needs to be added, but we can do that when we do fall coaches, which I got ahead of myself, I guess, in that aspect. So I'm just a doer, and I try to get things done as quickly as possible. So that's my fault. And I had talked that out with Jenny, so we're good now. So all those are up to date and accurate.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
I'd request that personnel be pulled for a separate vote under personnel.
Okay. So we will vote for 9A and then 9B.
No, I'm sorry. Letter B in personnel, so letter B and B.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
So I don't know if we can do A and then
D, B.
A, C, D.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's up to you guys. So we're not doing it 3 times.
All right, so let's do 9A. Can we do 9B, A, C, and D all at once?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and then B as a separate.
So we are voting on 9A and 9B, A, C, and D.
Thank you.
Christine?
Mr. Terasnowski?
This is A.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
And Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Okay, now we will vote on personnel. So it's 9B, and we're going to vote on section B.
Correct.
Christine, when you're ready.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
And Mr. Terasnowski?
I abstain.
Okay. We'll now move on to contracts and agreements. We have a contract in agreement with Wiles Valley Weather. Sorry, I need a motion to bring it to the table. Motion and a second to bring it to
So
the table.
moved.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so now let's discuss the contract for Wiles Valley Weather. I don't know if you guys had a chance to review it in your packets.
I have a question on this, just
Yep.
to understand further how this is different from the NOAA weather updates that we get.
Yep, so Wiles Valley Weather, they're growing in terms of producing very specific, area-specific weather data for specific regions. So it's been something that's offered over the years to us, and I thought this year we should bring it at least to the conversation of the board, knowing that our area is a little bit different than maybe what we get in the southern tier of New York, or even into the southern half of Bradford County. I know a couple school districts that do use this service. It does kind of like give them some insider tips on what the weather is or may be in the near future.
Which school districts?
Wellsboro is one. And then I know of Bloomsburg, but I haven't actually talked to them. But I have talked to Wellsboro,
And has it,
it seemed to help them.
in calling days or
Yeah,
not?
and calling days or not calling weather days, just because sometimes the weather report that we receive globally is it's regional and not specific to a geographic area like the county, the school district of Athens. I think it's Nathan Wiles is the owner of Wiles Valley Weather. His job would be to give us a very up-to-date and accurate, up-to-the-minute, and I think depending on the package, I would not expect anything other than the medium, most popular package to get that morning of weather. If there's like evolving weather patterns, like if there's like a potential snowstorm and I have to dismiss early, when is that going to start versus when the anticipated time, he would have a little bit more accurate information. You guys have seen him if you are on social media. Wiles Valley Weather does a lot of social media posts about the weather. People in our community watch that pretty closely. I can often be criticized on there for making a good or bad decision. Doesn't matter, I'm going to lose either way. I thought I'd bring this to the board. This is a service that may enhance our weather prediction, but at the same time, I'll also let everyone know that I'm working with Jeff, and we're going to make a trip on November 18th to visit all the road township supervisors and to set up a communication link with all of them for severe weather delays.
So I just want to make sure, there's 3 packages here. Either way, we're paying someone to tell us what the weather's going to be.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
Okay.
exactly what, I think you got that.
What's the difference between this and, my Weather Channel app?
I was
that
just
I
going to
can
ask, does he have a
put
weather
zip code in and get the
station?
weather?
Well, from my understanding, from my conversation, is there's more data, there's more statistical data that can be gained than just what you get on a general newscast. They'll use different scientific charts, different weather charts.
Does he have a weather station closer? Is that the reason? Or could we have the person come give us a board presentation?
Sure, we can.
Like, could we table the vote
Sure.
and see if he'd come and give us so we can understand it?
1,000,000,000%, yes.
Thank you.
Gladly do so. This has been something that's been on our to-do list. Bring to your attention, put it on the agenda, see if it flies. If it doesn't fly, then we'll be fine either way. Like, it may enhance what we do. I can't guarantee you that I'll be 100% accurate. There's nothing that can guarantee that. There are numerous times that I have read the weather, obsessed about the weather, got it 100% right, felt great, and the exact opposite will happen the next experience I have. So.
You know what, Dr. Sage, I know you always have the safety of our kids when you make these decisions, and you do take it to heart. And weather is something that, I'm sorry, no, we have no control over.
I look at this in a couple different ways, but I do see this as another tool in the tool chest, right? So for the expense that it is, it'd be interesting to hear from the company. I'd like to hear the presentation on this, but again, this is another tool to add to it. And it's not foolproof. But it's something that if they can do something localized, the problem I foresee is we have Smithfield, which is a completely different climate than it is here. We can have 5, 6 inches of snow there and 0 here. So for them to give us a great explanation of the weather from Smithfield to here, I mean, there's a lot of mountains everywhere, depending on where you are. So, again, it's an...
I can guarantee you, to one of the conversation pieces that I always get, and you guys hear this the same, it's not doing anything here on Elmira Street, but I will tell you that Jeff and I can look at a camera and see 2 inches of snow sitting at SRU. So we can attest that we live in a very challenging district in terms of location. So if this is another tool, let's see if we can get Mr. Wiles to come in and talk to us in December. Is that fair? Fair. So let's table it.
So we're going to table the contract.
I got you, Chris. I got you. I got you. I don't think.
Do we need
to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to table that. Table.
Second.
Let's set 10A.
10A.
And then Chris is second that. It's really good at that.
Okay, we're going to move on to policies. Can I have a motion and a second to bring the policies to the table?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so let me just start off with the Title IX ones are going to second read. Then we are going to, we're going to vote on all the second reads tonight. And then there's a bunch of first reads that are going to move to second read. They're all listed there. I mean, so you have the Title IX, you have workers' compensation, acceptable use of social media, procurement cards, fiscal objectives, budget planning, budget prep, budget adoption, tax levy, tax collection, tuition income, bank accounts, investment of district funds. Now, I do want to say that 604, we are going to hold on first read because we're going to make some verbiage changes, verification verbiage in that particular policy. Any questions or comments? All right, Christine, when you're ready.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. Karisnowski?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cooper?
Yes. Just, Mrs. Minnick, on contracts and agreements number 10, we had the motion and the second to take it off the table. We have to vote, the solicitor. So if we could vote on number 10 to postpone it.
We're voting.
Postpone.
Postpone it for whenever they're coming back, but postpone the vote
My
on that.
motion is to postpone 10A.
10, yeah. You don't need a roll call?
All in favor?
All in favor of postponing 10A?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay, next, curriculum and instruction items. Make a motion and a second to bring that to the table.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have the state FFA Maple Career Development overnight trip. Wait, where am I at here? Is that, okay. Athens High School Science Olympiad overnight trip and the Harlan Row Middle School Science Olympiad overnight trip. Yep. Any questions, comments, concerns? Christine, when you...
The one already happened, correct, Craig?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Christine, when you're ready.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. Karisnowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to transportation items. We have additional driver list. Can I have a motion and a second to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? Christine, when you're ready.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. Tarsnowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, buildings and ground items, there are none listed for this evening. 15 other, there's nothing listed. Back to visitor comments. Any visitors? All right, so that brings us to board communications or information items. On these, we have personnel transfers, Sunday facility use, field trip request, Coast Wilds program at Lynch Buston. We have our enrollment by the month, and we have our enrollment by building. These aren't voting items, these are just informational items. Any comments? I have two things listed here. I checked, I wanted to verify with Mr. Stage, or Dr. Stage, sorry, this Coast Wilds program. It's only for Lynch Buston, but it has been offered to SRU as well.
Yeah, so actually, I did talk to Mr. Collin today. He said if I got it, I missed it, but he got the information from Stephanie, and he'll see if they're interested in it. But they're doing a bunch of stuff too.
Okay.
So actually, Mrs. Tillman had that sent to her from a teacher, so that's kind of, I had to do some digging today. But there's a lot of these offers out there, so they fly around like crazy.
I just want to make sure both schools are offered.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're on it.
And then the other question I had, there's field trips from SRU to Animal Care Sanctuary. The funding sources say the school district. So I know it says the school district, but where in the school district funding is that money coming from?
Yeah, so typically, the source code says AASD sometimes, but they are out of the building budgets first. So those are all approved by the principals first, and then they come out of the AASD big budget, but they budget through their building budgets. Yeah.
I just think it's a lot of money to go a mile down the road. Is there any way they can use vans instead of buses?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to save them money. Like,
Sure.
$100 to go a mile. I don't know. From the SRU to Animal Care Sanctuary?
It might be two.
Okay, 2 miles. But I just didn't know if there was a way, are they allowed to use the vans if...
Everybody's allowed to use the van if they're available, and typically during the day they are, unless we have chop.
the kids, there's 15 kids that go to volunteer at the Animal Care Sanctuary that's costing the building $109.
So it's $109 for the bus to go back to the Animal Care Sanctuary and back. It's also an hourly rate to pay the bus driver. It's not just mileage.
Right, so if they can use the vans, if they have it, I mean, she plans ahead, so if they can use the vans for the morning to do that.
So our van is hold 8, so we would have to send another adult. So Mrs. Stevens could be one, but then we'd have to send another.
I just don't want to see them, that's a lot of money to go 2 miles for, I mean, they're going to volunteer. And it's costing them.
It's a student council, and it saves us a sub. Send one.
Can I interject real quick? So my only issue with that is we're talking $100 and some, right? I mean, is that when we're dealing with how many $1 million budget, we're talking $100 and some. I mean, I honestly can tell you there are probably 30 other things that I would probably want to look at a little bit more in depth. It's a bus ride down there. It might be 2 miles, but
My concern is, let me just put this out there. This past weekend, I sat down to do my own budget for next year to pay for this tax increase that the taxpayers have coming up. I'm looking at every little thing because it all adds up in the end. And moving forward, if we're going to have to, stop some programs to make up this deficit that we're going to have, I think we need to look at everything, not just the big numbers. That's how I look at my own personal budget.
so
I don't know.
I look at it as it's 1.5 miles down the road, 2 miles, am I correct?
I don't know exactly.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, I would rather have the kid in the school bus knowing that he's going to be safe if something happens at a Four Corners intersection instead of in a van. I'd pay the $150, and if it's that big of an issue to someone, I'll pay the $150 out of my own pocket. Because I just see the safety aspect of it. That's all I think about is the safety aspect. And if I know that they're in a school bus, they get rear-ended, they get at a four-corner, somebody's drinking a pot of coffee or whatever it is, falls in their lap, runs in the side of a van, we are going to have some issues. So I'll take the 150 out of it in the equation and make it as a safety aspect. I think that would trump most anything out there. So I think there's a lot of avenues that we can hit at that we can deduct where we can. But for a mile or two, for the safety aspect of it, how much do you look at the safety of this?
So the other thing is, I appreciate being thrifty and paying attention to those. We have no problems in pivoting and doing things in a frugal way. So I thank you very, very much for bringing that up. The only other loophole is if we add another van, it takes another teacher out of the classroom, be a chaperone or an aide, and then we have to find a sub. So there's the cost of covering the sub, which is $145 a day, plus whatever the daily rate of that teacher is, which could vary a couple $100 to $300 for that. So while I understand, like, it's crazy to think that sending a bus just a couple of miles would cost us $109 or $18. I think we need to think about all our trips in general too, and what's the purpose. So, but I appreciate the fact that you pay attention.
All right, moving on.
I have one extra thing. I'm not sure if this is the right time or not for board. Can we make comments on something that we might have saw? Is this the right time to say that, or?
I think you should.
Okay. So I do want to bring up with everyone, I had the opportunity last weekend to go to Bradford County. They put on a school bus rescue class. It was for 2 days. We met at Bradford County 911 Center. We spent probably 7 to 8 hours on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we had the opportunity. Chambers Bus Garage gave us a bus to demo. We acted as if there was maybe a car under the backside of the bus. We were trying to figure out how to get kids out of the bus in a rear-end collision. Maybe the bus would have been tipped over. Chambers was grateful enough to donate the bus. We tore the bus completely apart. We lifted the roof off of the bus. We cut through the side panels, pulled seats out, put emergency equipment in it to make sure that we could get the kids out in a short amount of time. Very informational. We had about 25 different people from Bradford County there. 2 instructors. One was in our own county itself. Another one came out, Southern County, down below us, of course. But it was a great attendance, and there was a lot of our local firemen that were there to understand if we do have a bus accident, how we get these kids out of here in a safe manner, quick and safe manner. But hats off to Bradford County and for allowing us to set this class up, and it was very informational, and we had a lot of good reviews of it. So I just wanted to thank Chambers Bus Garage for donating a bus. That's something that doesn't happen very often, so that was exceptional. So, very good class.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, future meetings. Regular session meeting Tuesday, December 3rd, the board reorganization meeting. It will be held here at 7 o'clock, and committees will meet at 6:15.
I will point out for those of you that haven't had it here, that it is required that we
Okay. 19, I don't think there's an executive session need,
There is for personnel.
so we will meet.
No action needed.
No action needed for an executive session after adjournment. Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
Second.